here's everything set up. I just have to trim this stuff down right here, and that'll give me the three plates that I have to make. The main thing is, as you can see with the Dezuz fasteners, I have them all in. The problem, we have one problem right here where it conflicts with the fuse box, which I do have room right here to move it over. I don't have a problem with that. I have plenty of room over there, so I can easily move that over just a little bit. What is that? 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters? It's no biggie. Then over here, this is a good reason why you're using cardboard to set this thing up first, is when I put it in, the bar that comes down here to connect the Dezuz fasteners, the big thing is I want a bar down here because the cutoff switch is down here, and with this weight of this fuse box right here, I don't want any vibration making noise. How can I put this? You just don't want any rattles in the car. The less rattles, the better. You're gonna have enough shit going on that you just don't want that. So what I did was I just have to move the gauge over in the cutoff switch over. But these things are going to be cut last. These gauges over here are going to be cut last. The only gauges that are going to be cut first are the center console gauges with the tachometer, and then I will do the fuse box, and then do the rally computer. But I first have to make the panels with all the Dezuz fasteners where I want them. That's the first thing, and then we will get on to the rest of it. It's a process. It's a process. So, all right, let me get this going, and that way we can get this stuff all. There we have the old fuse box wiring. What it is, these are going to be the worst things. This is basically a jumper or a bus bar, what you would call it in electrics. What it is, it's one power feed feeding a couple of, this for this engine's 4 pieces. This is a ground wire though, but this is where's the here's a bus bar for a positive lead. What it is now that I have the fuse box clean, when I rewire it, I'm going to use the Coupe GT harness for all the lights and all the other stuff. It's all going to be set up to be as close as I can to the original color. Let's just say fuel pump. Fuel pump, historically, that all the Audis I've been working on have been green with a yellow stripe. So guess what? The fuel pump is going to be green with a yellow stripe. And that, it just goes on. I mean, I like doing that wiring. I enjoy it. But right now we have this thing all set up. Now I can get back to cutting and trying to fit the fuse box as into where exactly I want. The greatest thing is all the raised letters here that I can use. And it's all marked. And I think it's going to be kind of cool. So let's set this thing up. We'll put the scissors fasteners and all that stuff. So let's just get back to cutting and grinding and drilling. No welding yet. Not yet. I don't think there's going to be any, but we'll see what happens. That's how it's going to look. Spacing right here is the crossbar that's going to support the back of the Zuz fasteners. I'm going to cut those, and basically that's the line where it's going to be. Arbitrary, yes. So let's, all right, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I think I'm at least going to start marking where everything I need to cut is going to cut. But first things first, let me start getting the gauges. Let me bring over and set everything up and figure out where everything's going to be. I made a command decision. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this thing look like the old rally photo, which I think is actually the most correct one. Here it is. Now, you'll see above, this is the panel we're doing with the fuse boxes. What it is to the left of the far right Zuz fastener, you have a gauge, and you have 4 toggle switches. 3 toggle switches are metal pronged, and the 4th one it appears to be plastic, but it's actually metal. And if you said it's like a paddle, you know, it's like a duck bill almost. And that's what we're trying to replicate right there. So what do we have? Well, I went up to the box and I found a fuel gauge, you know, just to put it in there to mark it as a fuel gauge. I have 3 toggle switches, all metal ends, as you can see, just like what's in the photo. I also have this. This right here is a paddle, you know, it looks like a paddle, but it's a 2-way switch. This discerns, these are single, like that, on, off, and this one is, you know, circuit 1 off, circuit 2. What does that do? Well, you know, I'm not sure if it's still required in rally, but it used to be that when you had your high beams on and all your lights on, if you put it on low beam, it kills all the auxiliary lights, and that was a requirement for running on the road. So if for oncoming cars. What it is we used to have 2 switches like this. I used to have toggles like this that were twice the size, and they were double position. All the way up was, you know, you have your high beams on and your rally lights on. All the way down, it was independent. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to have it all the way down for independent, because in certain situations you don't want your high beams on your main lamps. Why is that? Well, one reason is, you know, your alternator could be failing and it's not keeping up with all the lights. You want to get rid of the lights that are absolutely useless, and those lights are absolutely useless. Or you can have it on your main beam and have it on your low beams, to use the low beams as more of a fog light than your other, you know, more of an accessory to the fog light, let's just say. You know, but, you know, basically what this does is legal, useful. So, and if you take a look on the picture right here, that toggle switch, that paddle switch, is identical to this. So I'm assuming what that is. I have no idea what that is, but I'm guessing, and I'm trying to make that the best we can, pretty much. That's all. So what did I do? As you saw, I cut out a piece of cardboard to mimic this plate exactly, what I have. I know where all the Zuz fastener mounts are going to be, right here, right here, right here. Fuse box, the main opening, not just the fuse box, but the main opening to allow it to go in, where the tab is, and right here is where a hole is in that panel that I want to cover up. So that's our only design consideration, is that I got to move the gauge a little over so I can get that hole out with a hole saw. So that's pretty much it. All right, let me get my protractor over here so we can start measuring this stuff out and figuring exactly where we want the gauges and how far apart we want all the switches to make it look right and still fit in within this panel, and I can pull the panel out. Because you don't want any switch, you know, yeah, you can fit it, but it's in behind the plate for the Zuz fasteners, and then you have to no, it has to come straight out, straight in. no problem. So, all right, let me get on with that. Let me go get my protractor and my rulers and all that stuff, and let's see if we can make something work with it. What I did was, here's the hole, the edge of the hole right here. That's the center, and this is the line where I want it on. So I put the compass right here, 26 millimeters, so it's 52 on the outside. Cover it to the very end of the hole, so when I do the hole saw, it'll go right in. I can file out the back, and it'll fit right in nice. Hopefully. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down from here, because this is tight, and this is where I am going to do my line. Remember, always draw where your bezel is going to be, because that's what you're looking at, not where the hole is going to be, what the bezel is going to be. It's rough. Now we have to figure out exactly what we need to do for spacing. What am I doing? I measured this toggle switch, which is 20, I'm going to call it 27 millimeters, and then I did half of that, which is let's just say 14, just to give us on the safe side, away from where the mount is going to be. So I just put that in 14 millimeters out, mark it. That should be half distance. Now we have to figure out the other three. Right here. And now I think I finally figured out the gauge in toggle switch situation. Because I'm sitting there looking at it, oh, nothing was working. What it is that this gauge is so big, and it's indented right here, so I'm not worried about any cooling really, but what I want to do is have these toggle switches pretty much close, a little bit closer to this, but not too much, but I still want them equidistant. What am I going to do? Well, I'll build in 3 millimeters here. They're 8 millimeters pretty much, to the dead center, so it's off of this right here. I'm going to go 11 millimeters. And then I'm going to build off of this to make it equidistant. Whatever the measurement is, if I need to bring it like 20 millimeters over, then another 20 millimeters, whatever, 22, whatever it works out to be in between here. I just haven't figured it out yet, because I've been looking and staring at it. But just to make it equidistant and more shifted a little bit more towards this side. So I might have a 10 millimeter gap here, and then I'll figure out the equidistant spacing in between the two. That's all it is. So let me get this thing and my marker all set up, and let's make this thing happen. exact as I can get it. Why am I bending it now? Because when I take all of this out and I bend it, that might torque a tweak or whatever, and just not look right. You know, I want to bend it and then I'll cut it out. That's kind of what I'm trying to do now. So here I go. Remember here in this picture, remember it's bent back 30 degrees? Well, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Well, now the dashboard has been bent and it's at a pretty decent angle. Let's do, the reason why we built this dashboard is because I wanted to build the frame for it to weld into the car. That's the only reason why. But I want to put the frame on this before I cut out anything, just to make sure nothing distorts and everything is equal. And then, like, I'm going to run the bar all the way down through here, and then at the final end I'll just cut the bar from here right up and just, you know, and do it this way. So that's the whole thing. So let me get the material. I'll pull this out of the vise and we can actually get this thing on the final end of doing this car. It's like, yes. Oh man. All right, let's just do it. We're going to use for the frame. All it is, nothing spectacular. 3/4 inch square tubing and 1/2 inch square tubing. I mean, where they come from, some piece of machinery or file cabinet or something. I don't know. It's pretty thick and it's pretty stout. But it's basic, generic, off-the-shelf type stuff. Nothing fancy. What's my consideration when I'm doing this? Well, I want the 3/4 inch tubing is going to start off on the bottom portion. It's going to run all the way through here, and I'm going to cut it where the steering column is, but that's after everything is built, so it's all in line. Now, I'm going to be running into very, very tight spaces in this instrument panel, plus you have the gauges and stuff over here and the light switch. So I have to run the smaller tubing, the 1/2 inch tubing, up through here in order for it to, how can I put this? Make this panel stiff enough so when the Dezos fastener is fastened, it doesn't flop around, you know, and everything is relatively stiff. These Dezos fasteners up here will be welded onto that, and then I'm going to run a tab off of the 1 inch tubing that I have in between, the round tubing that I have in between the roll cage to connect into it. And this is all going to be connected, you know, this is going to be the 1/2 inch tubing, this is going to be the 3/4, probably a 1/2 inch tubing up here and 3/4 right here, just to build strength, that's it. So first thing I have to do, I have to re-pop rivet all of the Dezos fasteners onto this, which means what I have on these plates, I got to figure out which way they go. These things are indented to fit the pop rivet. And another thing, you can do it like, seeing how I'm using double plates here, if you use a single plate, you put them like this. You use a double plate, I have to do it like this. And there's enough tension where it actually keeps it. So I'm pretty cool with it, like, you know, the way it's going to work out. So what I have to do is I have to pop, well, flip this thing over, get the panels, put the Dezos fasteners in, and see exactly where they're going to end up, pretty much. Or I'm going to, I have to put these things all together, but get this thing all squared away and just, you know what, I just have to build it. That's the only thing. All right, let me get my stuff on my grinders and cutters, and let's start slicing up this tubing to make something work. there's our stabilizing mount right there. I had to put a stabilizing mount here, there, and on the other side to the roll cage, which is, pretty simple. What am I going to use for the ones up next here? I think a Eurovan seat frame should work. So I'm going to trim this out. I'm going to see if it works. So, you know what? I had to tell you. There it is, pretty stiff. We now have the frame pretty much in. Not fully welded because I have to, take all this stuff off and I can get in the backside and all that. That's not a problem. What it is we now have to make, as you can see in the picture, the Audis had capture nuts like I did right here, right there, M6s all the way across to keep the dashboard in, and on the bottom, as in the picture right here. You'll see them, I'll put pointers to them. What I'm going to use, I'm only going to use 4 in the bottom, 4 in the top. I already have 2 in the top. I have the Dezo's fasteners holding everything in, but I need to put the capture nuts down, or the nuts right down here, or the bolts down here to have the main structure of the dash in, so it doesn't move. So when you pull off these things, the dash doesn't move around. What am I going to use? This was from the old Subaru airbag, and these are from another Subaru, because they have capture nuts already in. It's just one less step you have to do. If you recycle this stuff, good. You're recycling it, and you're already going to have to cut pieces of metal anyway, so you might as well cut the pieces of metal with the capture nuts already in, so you don't have to do that extra step. I mean, yeah, I did it up here on this one, but that was beside the point. That was just a little bit different. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to cut this in half and bring it up here and use it for the top, and chop these things up to put them in the bottom. I mean, that's all it is. And oh, another thing, you're probably wondering, you probably keep seeing me with a respirator on and me welding with it. It's not what you think. I mean, yes, it is to take care of some of the fumes and all the, because when I lift up my mask, I grind and I don't want to get that shit in my lungs. But the thing is, when you have a respirator mask, it discharges on the bottom so it doesn't fog up the lens. When I started using the thing, I said, wait a minute, why isn't my lens fogging up like normal? It does fog up eventually, but what it is, it's freaking awesome. So if you wear a respirator, it blows out, make sure the tops are tight, but it blows out the bottom, and you can weld longer. There you go. So, all right, let me just start cutting this up. I got to drill some holes. I'm just going to put, 1 here, 1 on the other side, and 2 over there, and 2 more up top, and we're going to call it good for doing the frame on the dashboard. All right, let me start cutting these things up. All right, and we now have our exact template where we can start putting the light in, the gauge in, and the kill switch. Here we are at the computer doing more detective work. All right, well, when you start to do this, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have to go back and forth in between different pictures. I kind of want to set everything up like, which I am kind of setting everything up like this dashboard, because this looks like the oldest picture and probably the most realistic. The other picture from Bonham's, the ones we've been using, looks like someone, yes, it's real, but they changed switches here and there just from time and passage and all that other stuff. And I'll also go at the end, I'll show you a little bit reason why I think that really was mucked with and it wasn't. It was a factory car, but somebody else worked on it. I'll show you. There's some good indications. First things first, we're trying to make the dashboard in between the removable cluster and the removable fuse box panel. What it is, we have the oil light, voltmeter gauge, rocker switches. It looks like, well, you have a kill switch right here. If you look right here on the bottom, underneath the windshield wiper sock, you have one hole there and one hole above that. That appears to be bolts for the kill switch. And to the right of that, you have an on-off switch. Don't know what that is, but I'm probably going to put that in. And it appears to be an additional switch right onto the other side of that. So we kind of want the kill switch as close as we can to the instrument panel or removable instrument panel we can. All right, so what do we have? Well, first things first, I got this from Susquehanna Motorsports. It's rallylights.com, I think is what it's called. And does that look familiar? It has the ridges here, everything. It's like, oh my God. So let's go back to the Bonham's picture. Take a look at that light. You'll see the indentations right here. It's exact. It looks absolutely exact. So I'm pretty happy about that. Then you'll see the voltmeter gauge, which is the exact same one was in the other previous picture, which is right here. Coupe GT, 4000, all the ones that had gauges had this gauge. So it's pretty easy to put together. Now, they had in this car 2 kill switches. Don't know why, actually 3 if you consider one in the center console, but we're not going to have that. But 2 kill switches on that. Well, it appears in that other photo, where this kill switch is, there's 2 rocker switches. That's what it appears to be. I'm not going to do those just yet because I can easily do those later. What I want to do is put the kill switch as close as I can to the removable instrument console, and we'll have that as our main kill switch. This right here is a battery cutoff switch. It has the same bolt pattern as the kill switches, but the kill switches have a little thing that comes off right here that you basically tie into the alternator and tie into the ignition system, so it cuts them off. And it also has a ballast a ballast that basically prevents a voltage spike into the system, so it doesn't burn out. So it doesn't burn out wires and stuff like that, or burn out your alternator diodes and so forth. So first things first, I got to set this thing up. I mean, my center section right here is going to be a little smaller because yes, you can see these. You can see this rocker switch, which is a hazard switch, on the other photo, but this one is obscured, which could easily be obscured in the angle of that photo. But these things don't bother me. These 3 main things that I really need, yes, and we can always stick this switch here in afterwards, but let's first put these in here on the template and transfer it to that so I can drill the holes. One thing that's quite interesting, I just discovered. When this is mounted, the bolts for the mounting bolts are right here and right here. They're off-center. And when you run a straight line across them here, it's exactly where I wanted the gauge on the other one. So I'm sitting there going, huh, I wonder if they did that. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So you have your 2 bolts, you put them in here, run a straight line across, that's where your gauge is going to go, supposedly. And now let me just put this in. and I try to keep it in line right here. Try to put this center line where we're going to have the gauge and the mounting holes, and this all in one line is what I'm trying to do. I'll make it as symmetrical as possible. This should miss the side frame for the Dessous fasteners, and this should right here should miss the bottom frame for the actual dashboard. So let me go transfer everything there with the punch, and let's start drilling up some holes. Just misses it. Awesome. That's a utilization of space. Well, that looks pretty cool. They gave you a nice little grommet for this thing and everything. This is how it's going to look. Not like that. That looks pretty cool. All right, let me drill these. Here we are at the computer doing our more detective work. This is a picture of the dash that I pretty much want it to be, but we can't really replicate what's over here on the side just because I don't have the stuff that's there. That's the big thing. But let's go over to the one that was for sale at Bonham's. Take a look at the gauges what we're originally using to do ours. We have the pressure gauge, well, fuel pressure gauge, a fuel tank, which is pretty logical having them both next to each other, and the speedometer on the bottom. We also have a light switch on both of those setups on the same exact position. Now the one on the back side, this right here, the light switch, let's go look at that other picture. That light switch looks just like a 911 SC. You want to know how I know? This right here is from a 911 SC, and it looks almost exactly like that. And I'm looking around going, well, I looked on eBay to find a 911 SC headlight switch, and if you really need one, they're like $250 to $300. That's what they are. I've seen them up there. Occasionally, get them for like $75. That's just, someone just wants to unload it. But what did I find to make one that looks like that? Well, I got this. It's a Amnen or whatever. It's made in Thailand at least, not China. But take a look. It's almost exactly what that switch looks like. So I'm sitting there going, this is a win, because you're never going to see the back portion of it. Who cares? And it's pretty much easily to put in whatever you want to do. You just put it onto this switch, and they're $15 from Amazon. I mean, there's our fake switch. So what do we got to do? We have to. I got the template as you saw. I got to put the gauges in there and drill them into that, and we can. Geez, we're getting really close to being pretty much done with this. So all right, let me get the template all squared away and put the gauges in, and we'll do it that way. All right, let's cut the holes to make sure the gauges will fit in, and that'll be about it. Well, normally I end the videos when I just finish a project. And this is kind of it, but actually it's the next morning. What it is. Here's a picture of that car that was for sale in Bonhams. Here is the old car, the one that I want to look up. That's the dashboard. Well, I had to let the paint dry. Let's go in and see how well I did. Well, you know, I think it works. I really, really like it. Not having the center console is new, but I have to put in the heater system, the fresh air ventilation system to figure out where my stuff is going to be down here. But other than that, here's a picture that I want it to look like over here, and this is what I got. I'm going to do an in picture. I'll do a split. I think I have everything, because the fuse box is different. I have to take a liberty with that, but I'm probably going to make a cover to make it look like the original. But I need to have all of the relays in there to figure out the height. That's the big thing, because I don't know what I'm going to use for relays. I might even have intermittent wipers in this thing, which means the relay's it's a time delay wiper, which, it's easy to do, but it makes the relay bigger. They're all just not dual 87 or single 87 pole relays. But this light works. The tachometer, the 914 tachometer looks the business. I like it. And the light switch from Amazon, damn, it looks great. And all this stuff seems to be flowing fairly well. And geez, I don't know. I mean, the computer, I need to pull more out. I just made a quick temporary mount to put that in there. But other than that, I just think it looks kind of cool. Not bad from a hillbilly from New Hampshire. Building it out of like old generator casings or preheater casings and bed frames and all this other stuff that I built it with. Because remember, all this stuff was junk except for the light and this switch I bought new. Everything else was shit that people were throwing away. And yeah, so all I can say is that you can do this. You can do this definitely. And thank you very much for showing up. And at least it looks like something now. At least it looks like something. And the biggest thing is I can take it all off and start welding all the frames permanently to the chassis. This is the entire reason why I did the dashboard now instead of at the end, is because I needed to make sure every single thing fit. Everything fits. And then I can, I'll weld everything to the chassis. Everything's, in permanent. And then when I spray paint it all, that's when it will go back in. Then there's a bunch of 40 grit scratches I use with the flap wheel. I just have to DA it 180 grit, and I'll paint it flat black, not just gloss black, because that's the only spray bomb I had. But other than that, it's getting there. And remember, you can do it. Just a hillbilly from New Hampshire. So thank you very much for showing up, and hope to see you in the next one. I don't know what it's going to be. Pete. All right, we'll see you now. Bye. This is what I wanted to show you, that the reason why I think the car right here was kind of messed with, or they've taken stuff out of it and put in crappy stuff. What it is, besides those plastic switches, those 99p switches, is what I remember used to seeing back in the old days for the articles, is take a look under the steering column. You'll see right below the washer wiper switch is, I believe that's for turn signals, and there's crimp connectors with generic wires in there. The factory wouldn't do that. The factory would have standard wires and a connector, and inside the connector, and that's the way they would do it. Let me just say, that's the way I think they would do it. Because they have access to all of that. And it's so much easier just to slide the connector on then to figure out, oh, this wire fell off, where does it go? Now, it's one of two possibilities of the reason why they had that. These wires there with just the standard crimp connectors. First thing, they put it together in a shop and they were hacking around, they broke the connector, they didn't have any money, and they crimped it on there and they put it in there and they sent it out the door. Not the best thing in the world. Or they were at a service. They had 20 minutes. Nothing was working. You had to crimp connect some new wires, run the wires, and make it run. Now, if they did this at a 20-minute service, that is the way to go. you don't have time to muck about with it to make it all pretty. No, you have to get it in there and get it out so the people do not get time penalties. You know, and that is your entire, that's the mantra of the service group. You do not want to incur time penalties, you know, because of your fault. But I just thought I'd run that in. So how about this? Let me bring you over to the dashboard, and that's pretty. And let me show you what's going on over there. So, yeah, it's cool.